Okay, welcome. Good morning. You are at the Los Angeles Business Council Recovery Series, so hopefully you're in the right room. Thank you for coming here so early. I know this isn't the easiest place to get into, but you made it and you've been rewarded with food. So this morning, a couple things for your information. One is the next recovery event is in front of you on your table, so you can mark March 26, 8 to 10 at Gensler downtown for our next event. And this morning, for your convenience, there's index cards on your tables with pens. If you have questions you want to ask any of our speakers, please write your question down, and our staff, just raise your hand and our staff will come pick up your question. We felt that was the best way to do it because we've got a lot to go over today. So we're very honored this morning to have both Leo Marmol from Marmol Radziner with us, who's going to present a toolkit. He's a very experienced architect, and he has had experience with disasters, in particular the Woolsey fire. And so we're very excited to see his presentation this morning. But I want to start with a good friend of ours first, Steve Soboroff. I'm gonna date us, Steve. Okay, that I had the honor of serving with him in the Reardon administration with Mayor Reardon, which was actually, as it turned out, quite a distinction.
You're dating us, but we didn't date.
No, we did not date. We did not date because I think I was pregnant with my first child.
He forbid.
Yeah, he forbid dating. Well, except for himself. It was his dating.
You know how to get yourself in trouble.
Yeah. Okay, but working for Dick Reardon was quite an honor, as it turned out. He was a very good mayor in a crisis. Let's just put it that way. But also, I've seen Steve Soboroff operate in a crisis, and that was one, the Northridge earthquake. So, Steve, you're no stranger to this, and we're honored to have you here this morning. And you've taken on this chief recovery role for Mayor Bass. And I know that you have been doing several things in the last couple of weeks to help the Palisades out. You're a native, that was your home. And so this is very personal to you, what's going on, as it is to everyone, I think, in this room.
What's more personal to me, Mary, honestly, is the housekeepers of the people in the Palisades and what's going on with them.
Yeah.
And what's going on in Altadena with people sleeping on toxic lots because they don't have any place to sleep.
Okay.
So this,
Now I'm going to give you the microphone.
Oh. Okay.
And you can stand here, or you can sit there. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. So I'm here for one reason, and that is for you to walk away and say, well, I should have asked this guy this, and I should have asked him that, but I didn't, because I was chicken or whatever, you know. I got other, I mean, I could have gone for a walk with my grandkid today, okay? But I'm here because I want to try and help people understand the depth and the yellow brick road to recovery for everybody. And for everybody, it's different. That's what I find. Some people, the yellow brick road is restoring a $50 million mansion, and others, it's getting food for this evening. And if I can give them hope, if I can say to them, it gives me the chills to talk about this, even now. But if I can say to them, the way you're going to do it, which is what you're going to talk about in one specific area, is to go from A to B to C, day by day, sometimes for people hour by hour, in making decisions, and let them know what's going to be coming up ahead of them and making recommendations to them. I only got 3 clients, really. I mean, there's a lot of people, but those who lost or had damage to their homes, those who lost or had damages to their businesses, and all those people that work for them. And that is quite the tragedy. I'll put it in perspective. And I did lousy in science in college. In fact, I did lousy in college. I don't even know if I did good in anything. But Venus is the hottest planet in the solar system, it's 800 degrees. Aluminum melts at, jeez, I'm not going to let you do my next house. 1400 degrees. Glass melts at 1600 degrees. Cast iron pans melt at 2200 degrees. So as they go in through this phase 2 portion, as the Army Corps, through their contractors, they're finding that, this cleanup is going a little faster than we thought because there's nothing there. It all melted. They've never seen anything like it. The road to recovery, other than the mental health aspects of it, which I think are a huge deal. Kids now, when their parents are turning on their stoves to make dinner wherever they're living now, if they've been burnt out, freak out when the gas goes on. So the psychological, the mental health aspects, the mourning aspects, why would somebody, why in a million years want to go up and see their house without wearing protective gear? It is so dangerous and so toxic. My shoes, my wife makes me leave them a block away from our house. They turn green at night. But people have, as part of their mourning process, they got to see it. They got to see it. So they drove up there. They drive up and they take a look, and hopefully they didn't get out of their cars. But phase 1 is complete. Phase 1 is complete. And all phase 1 is, it ain't a big deal, but it's a serious deal. I call it the bomb squad deal. Stuff that's really, really bad and really, really obvious on these lots. They can tell by driving through. They can tell by looking at Google Maps from before and after. They've got to get lithium batteries away from these places, because not only can they explode, but the sulfuric acid and all that kind of stuff. So that's what they did in phase 1. Now, in phase 1, you get a little sticker on, sticker, you pass phase 1. It means one of two things. You pass phase 1, or 2, it was so dangerous they didn't even want to mess with it. So they let you go right to phase 2. What phase 2 is called debris removal. I call it lot clearance. It's to take everything off the lot, including the foundation, basements, I don't know, and go down 6 inches. 3 inches are really important. 3 inches they think are a little bit extra. And then they put mulch back in. And how many of you are golfers? I mean, it don't look like Pebble Beach when they're done, okay? But I'll tell you, it looks better than Rancho Park golf course. They look, well, okay, but I mean, I was a commissioner. I think it's 160,000 rounds a year. I mean, it looks like a golf. They do a great job in clearing those lots. It takes 2 skip loaders and 4 guys, men or women, 2 days to do each lot. So there's 2 ways to do anything, efficiently and inefficiently. It would seem like if the lots are contiguous, or 10 lots in a row, or in the alphabet streets, 400 lots, if they could get all those letters in and get all that paperwork done, that they could do it much more efficiently. There are some people that are opting out of phase 2. We can do I think it's more in the Palisades than, I'm a lawyer. I read the phase 2 document. It's 4 pages, and there's 2 words I won't agree to, so I won't sign it, so I'll do it myself. And so they have the right to be wrong. There is no reason not to do phase 2 through the Army Corps. There is not a reason. I know somebody where the Army Corps said it would be about $60,000, and his contractor said $750,000. His contractor won't be in business afterwards to guarantee anything. They're not allowed to use certain kinds of equipment. And let's say you do want to do your own. You don't think we're going to have enough trucks up there for you to bring your truck up there for one house? we're going to have 150,000 trucks of hazardous waste material moved out of Pacific Palisades in a year. It's 400 a day. Anybody who's ever lived there has never seen there. You have never seen over 30 trucks in Palisades in one day. So the routes, the kind. Luckily, Joe Edmonston's allowing some stuff to happen up at Temescal Park, where we've limited the routes out with these trucks, just down Temescal. Temescal's 8 lanes. There's no homes on Temescal, so we eliminated Chautauqua. We eliminated Sunset West. Sunset East is a disaster anyway, but those are going to be issues. I'm here for good news and hope, but I want to tell you, you got 6,000 homes are going to be built, 6,000 structures. Let's say, I don't even say 5 years, 4 years. That's 1,500 a year. Anybody up built their own house? How many people, how many contractors, how many cars, when one of your homes is being built? One. How many cars are there a day? 10? 20? Let's call it 10. That's 15,000 more cars driving into the Palisades and driving out of the Palisades. And people who would rather be, we talk about the workforce, would much rather work in Altadena because it's so much closer to where they live. So you got a workforce, 41% of are afraid to go out of their house right now because they're afraid of ICE raids. Not that they're undocumented. There may be 3 families and 1 undocumented person in the family, but everybody's they're afraid to go out. So people aren't showing up to work. Our workforce is difficult. The second thing is, in CD11 last year they gave out 400 permits, and they got to give out 6,000 permits now. Nothing personal. It's impossible. You have to outsource it. It'll be impossible in New York. Give me the most efficient city in the world. Well, except dictatorship. Except I'm not sure we're not moving towards that. Anyway, that's going to be an issue. So those kinds of traffic issues lead to this chicken and the egg deal. Who wants to move back in, even if their house wasn't hurt? You know, you do your deep clean, and nobody should move in if their neighbors haven't had their phase 2 done. That's dumb. Because one wind and all of a sudden everything comes back and you got to get all your clothes dry cleaned again. But let's say in an area that everything is done with phase 2. You move in. People say, well, I don't want to move back in now. I'd rather wait a year till there's some stores there. And then the stores say, yeah, I'm ready. You know, once it gets rebuilt, I want to move back in when there's people there. I have hope for that. I'm experienced with that. Playa Vista, when we did Playa Vista, there were 10,000 residents. After 1,000, we start opening retail. That's 1,000. That's not, that's 10 times as many people are here, okay? We started opening with Coffee Bean, with a pizza place, and it wasn't really stores, it was gathering places because people have this longing to gather. So I think that the village will come back. I don't mean Crusoe's village, I'm talking about the whole thing, and up Marquez. I think it will come, I think it has potential to come back, so I'm trying to encourage people to go ahead, at least do your plans, and then you can make your decision. Same thing with your house. Don't sell to one of these people going around saying, I'll give you, here's my credit card, let me buy your place right now, you can leave the ash, and especially older people, they're getting scammed. Because in a year from now, first of all, the banks aren't going to charge them their mortgage if they have a mortgage. Second of all, they don't have to pay real estate taxes during this period, except under certain circumstances. I can get into that. But that tax assessor is the most reasonable human being I've ever spoken with. And third of all, everything's going to be cleaned up. A lot of the utilities are going to be undergrounded right by your lot. And you're going to have it looking like Rancho Park, or maybe even by that time, Pebble Beach. You'll be able to get twice as much or 3 times as much. Don't let them scam you now. Don't let them scare you now. Now, if people want to buy land and they want to do anything other than build back what they had plus 10%, add an ADU, which doesn't count, and basically keep the character of the neighborhood. In other words, don't do anything so shocking architecturally that all the neighbors are going to say, why did you let that go in the express lane? We have express lane. The express lane to permitting. My feeling that express lane should be outsourcing. And if the city tries to do it themselves, they might. And if it doesn't work, then they can go to outsourcing. But if you're going to do anything else, like try and merge a lot, or try and double the size of your house, or try and do this, just go back through the city process. It's easy. You've done it. You guys have done it. I've seen you do it in as short as 10 years. So, this is about, it's about rebuild with better materials, better, you can improve your architecture. This is not an exercise, this is not an academic exercise in urban planning. Because if you do that, the urban planners are so smart and so sophisticated and never agree on anything that it's going to take 15 years before anything gets done. And I got to get that damn park open in 6 months. And that library open in 1 year. And the Y open in 9 months. And I got to get TOPA, that owns that historic building, which is on the city register. I got to get that goddamn thing open. We don't have time for figuring out that streets should be changed. We don't have time to figuring out, well, should we change zoning here or zoning there? People want to go redo zoning. Godspeed. Two more things, and then I'll take questions. People in the Palisades have this tendency to think that affordable housing is homeless housing. It isn't. That's insulting. And to come out and say we don't want affordable housing in our zip code is elitist and wrong and not the way we should think. I'm not saying add more, because then you got to go through the process. I would like to see more in the village area above all the places, but we can't do that now. So I tell people, build it out of steel and then do a second floor in 10 years or whatever. But people they're confused about that. And I think that at Playa Vista, we did affordable housing, 10%. We gave it to cops, firemen, teachers, and nurses. Each one of those people, and there were we did 600 units, saved 4 hours a day driving. They were working in West LA and living in San Bernardino. In Los Angeles, I was police commissioner for a while here, for 10 years. Now there's 8,500 cops, but there were 9,500 cops then. Only 800 of them live in Los Angeles. Nobody knows that. That's why we let them take the motorcycles home, to give a presence that there's more cops here. People can't afford to live here. So if we can create workforce housing, affordable housing, people in the Palisades, they don't in Altadena, but in the Palisades, they got that confused with, I don't want a mental health facility built in my residential neighborhood. I don't want a homeless facility built in my residential neighborhood. And there was one other thing that I found that people were confused. I don't know, I forgot. I'm entitled. Let's go to questions. Am I on time?
Yeah,
I don't
you're
want to
doing
take
good.
his.
No, you're doing fantastic.
He makes. Well, he's more valuable than me.
All right, is there a plan to replace burnt mobile homes? Some of the only affordable homeownership in Palisades.
I think it's the biggest question there.
420 units were lost.
But I mean, who owns the mobile home park? And you know, we've been trying. I've been able to reach more people now than any other time in my life. It's not just to ask me questions and ask for help, but for me to ask them for help. It's just phenomenal. That mobile home park needs to stay a mobile home park. And so I just don't know. The other thing is we're going to need to bring in construction workers like the Alaska pipeline. We don't have construction workers in our area or in the state of California that can handle what we have to build. So we're going to need some housing for these people. So if they could, we're going to have to be looking. We're going to have to do some modular housing. Otherwise, these people are not going to be able. They won't come here. They won't come here. That is a very, very important part of the fabric of Pacific Palisades. The people who live there, etc. Now, saying that, some people pay $1,500 a month, and if the guy's got to go put a whole bunch more money into it, he has the right, I think, to increase some of the rents. But I hope so. And I will tell you, if they go to rezone that to sell it for $100 million to some rich guy, I hope all of you will join me in objecting.
Okay, we like this one. Any
I
efforts?
like that one.
Oh, that was a good one. Any efforts towards bulk material purchases, shared staging areas, or off-site?
Yeah,
Analyze
it's
and
about
such.
efficiencies. On material efficiencies, the idea of a collaborative or something to buy a whole bunch of lumber or buy a whole bunch of sub-zero refrigerators, which don't do that because the warranties expire before you put them in, even though you put them into storage. I've heard about it. I don't know. I'd rather leave that. I don't think it's practicable. You're going to have hundreds of contractors, and I think contractors will be making their own arrangements. But to have a community lumber yard or a community this or that, I think it'd be great. From a practical perspective, it's out of my pay grade. One of the things we have to do, staging areas we have. One of the things we have to do is, in the phase 2, is just like, where's those garbage pails here? There's one for recycled and one for, there's 4 garbage pails for this stuff. There's metals, there's highly toxic, and they go to different landfills. And we have found places in Pacific Palisades where it's separated, and then they wrap them up, and then they take them down to Mescal, and they're going to there's only 3 ways you can go down to Mescal. One is right up to near Point Magoo, or up near, or go up to Panga, or go up Canaan over to those landfills. One is to go on the Santa Monica Freeway the other direction. God help us all. But they will. I think 3/4 of those trucks will. They're going to be operating 24/7 because on Temescal there's no residential. And the third is to try and see if we could work some sort of barge system out. And it just didn't work. We tried hard. And it's been used in other places, but it just doesn't work here. The amount of dredging that would be required, and the mess in moving things from the trucks onto the barge and the separating, it was like 20x, and would slow things down by years. So it's going to be traffic issues. Imagine this summer going to Malibu. I mean, it takes 2 hours anyway. But what they're going to do, I think, is just keep 2 lanes open for traffic and 2 lanes open for trucks. On the other side, now this is Malibu, not City of LA, not Altadena. all those homes on the left, if they were ever going to acquire anything by eminent domain, it should be those 40 or 50 houses on, that's not to Carbon Beach, but they have got to do something with that highway. It keeps collapsing day in, day out. So hopefully they will. And they passed a rule, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you rebuild those houses there, you have to build them 8 feet above your parking lot. And they only raised the height limit to 27 feet. So a lot of people, when they rebuild, are going to lose a story, a level. So I get people calling and in a very nice tone, screaming, saying, I don't give a shit, I'm calling the president, because that's not fair. So, okay, if you get through to them, I got a few questions too, but, well, and funny, one of the things was I was concerned about the number of the Army Corps guys that were here, and they're coming in mass now. But I can't, hello, Mr. President, I didn't vote for you, but I got a question for you. No, I called his richest donors who lost homes in Palisades and asked them whenever they spoke with them or any of the people, just to say, hey, I don't see enough Army Corps people out here. And sure enough, boom. So there'll probably be 10x. The ones I'm worried about are the FEMA guys, greatest people you've ever met in your life, come out here working hard, being told that they're stupid and that their department's going to be abolished. That's not quite a morale booster for any company. I wouldn't recommend it in any of your companies, but it's hard. But these people are first responders, and first responders run into fires, and first responders run into schools and dangerous situations. Go, Mary.
Okay, so this has come up quite a bit. The core will only go 6 inches.
That's not only, that's a lot.
Okay, the core will go 6 inches deep.
Yeah.
Is that enough?
Yeah.
And if not, which agency will be responsible?
Okay. There are two sides to this argument. There's a knee-jerk side saying that's not enough. They need to soil test. This region in Los Angeles was the #1 oil-producing region in the world 76 years ago when I was born. You go to La Brea and you pay $8 and you're standing in oil. There's all kinds of contaminants in our soil. If people had done soils testing, phase 2 soils testing, before, there would be some sort of baseline. But there just isn't a baseline. So what they're looking for are the items that are caused by the fire. If any of that can seep below 3 inches, and then they felt no, and then they feel it by doing 6 inches that you're covered. But you can go ahead and do a soils test, cost you $8,000. They're going to find stuff underneath there that had nothing to do with the fire, and then what are you into? Disclosures, all kinds of issues. So that's that side of the argument. The knee-jerk side is, okay, well, I'm just going to do it. So, go do it when they're done, or self-perform. Like I don't recommend that, but I think in that case, I think that they're doing the right thing. I do want to talk about undergrounding utilities because it's everybody's wish. Okay, it costs more money than building them above grade. There are certain areas where FEMA will, in fact, pay for the undergrounding of the utilities, the incremental cost, and I think there are going to be some areas where they won't, depending on whatever. And in that case, one of two things is going to happen. The utilities will not be undergrounded. They will be put up where they were. I sure hope that isn't the Alphabet Streets, and a couple other areas. Or maybe people can form an assessment district. Anybody hear the stories of the Towers of Shame in Malibu? In the Malibu colony, which is a very wealthy community of 200 and some people, they said, these poles are ugly. Let's underground them. So they got 198 people said, okay, I'm in. And they got 2 who I know, who I'm not going to mention, that said, well, you're going to do them anyway, I'm just not going to pay. If you drive to the Malibu colony today, you will see 200 homes, 198 of them have underground utilities, and they left the above grade towers there at great expense. And they're called the Towers of Shame. And those people forever are living in their houses with everybody knowing that they were the 2 out of the 198. So maybe an assessment district, I just hope as many utilities as possible. Here's another conundrum question, right? Okay. In the alphabet streets, the damn streets are too narrow, okay? Nobody has 2 mirrors on their car. You can't drive through there without whacking somebody's mirror off. So the parkway between the streets and the sidewalk is about 5 feet on each side. That parkway is not owned by the property owners, it's owned by the city. When they redo those streets, if they were just to widen them by 3 feet in each direction, it would not only save all the mirrors, but it would allow the fire trucks to go up and down in the alphabet streets. I hope that'll happen.
Any recommendations for rebuilding at scale, whole blocks at one time?
Yeah, I'm all for efficiencies, okay, but we can't turn this into housing projects. We can't turn it into Playa Vista type projects, Orange County type projects, where every roof has the same roof tile, and everybody buys their car from Jim Slemons and leases it. You know, we can't do that here. The diversity of Pacific Palisades is what made the community over 100 years. So I'd like to see economies of, I'd like to see those scales, but not, what I'd like to do, and I guess this is probably going to be impossible, you've got contractors here. I'd like to see guys get together and trade off projects and try and build 3 or 4 in a row versus building one here and one there and one here and one there, because they'll all get built, they'll get built faster, and they'll get built with less trucks. And so we'll see, we'll work on that.
So for people who want to get back quickly,
Yeah.
and rebuilding can take time.
Well, you mean their house is okay now, and they want to get back in?
No house, but they want to be back on their property.
Yeah,
Okay.
uh-huh.
What about bringing in modular or pre-manufactured net zero ADUs that can remain as additional housing later, that they can use as interim housing?
Great. To me, as long as a phase 2's done, I think that overwhelmingly people think that that would be great. If you've ever built a house, you know the closer you are to building the actual house, the more people are going to be working, and it's easier to schedule and everything else. I don't know if you would build the whole ADU first, or if you would just put some sort of something you can put on there in 2 weeks. I don't see anything wrong with that. What I see wrong is putting something on a property when your neighbor's property isn't clear, isn't safe, because these properties are not safe. I saw 4 people the other day jogging through one of these neighborhoods. I mean, it's just, okay, you know, see you at City of Hope in 10 years. I mean, come on, what are you doing?
Don't even say that. Okay.
I'm telling you, it's dangerous. Like going, they didn't make Chernobyl into Legoland and say drive around and take a look.
It should be hazardous besides reminding people. But what about the idea of builders self-permitting?
Well, that's a motion that has been approved by the city council. It's called self-certification. I'm sort of on a hybrid. I mean, there are very few architects, except for him, that I would, say, okay, you do the plans and you stamp them yourself. But I think if there were a group of architects, a group of outside architects that were trained exactly on what the city does, and they had the stamps, it would take 2 or 3 days and you go to them. So I'm sort of a hybrid between self-certification and the idea of the city doing it. To me, just as, we'll see if they.
You mentioned you were planning to open the park, the library, the YMCA within a year-ish. Is there a plan to help schools expedite their reopening?
Of course, oh, yeah, everybody, you know. But what you look for in these cases are symbols to people of hope. And those in the Palisades, those are the symbols of hope, plus the 4th of July parade and the 5K or 10. I don't care if the 10K is 1K. I don't care if it goes from here to there. It's got to be there. And I don't care if that parade, instead of being for 4 miles, is just in a circle around here. It's got to be there. And what will happen is you'll get 10 times as many people that have ever come to the Palisades Parade to come because they want to come back together. They want to come back together.
What role do you see for philanthropy in supporting the rebuild?
Philanthropy's been phenomenal. Last Friday, I got the 5 main groups together on the phone, you know, and we all talked, or they all talked, about what they're doing and what their goals are, and one of them's giving away houses, and one of them's giving away this, and I get a call from Irving Azoff. He's in New York, and it's snowing. He goes, I don't know if you ever listened to 2,000-Year-Old Man with Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner, and he was talking to Irving Berlin on a long-distance call, and he could hardly hear him, okay? So he's going, Irving, Irving! So I'm going, Irving! He's saying, we raised $100 million last night. I don't know what the fuck to do with it. I said, Irving, listen, go in a phone booth or something. I'm going to tell you what to do with it. You've got to get it. There are people that don't have food tonight. You can't give it to organizations that are going to have analysis paralysis. There are people that are going to be sleeping on toxic lots tonight. You have to, so, and I gave him like 5 different kinds of ideas. And so that's what we did. Different people are doing different things. Patrick is doing his thing, Rick's doing his thing. But there's no wrong way. There's just no wrong way.
So you would encourage philanthropy in all forms?
Of course.
Okay, so LA County is contemplating a land bank.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially a public option to sell land into. Is the city contemplating this?
I don't know the answer to that. I believe that LA County has been doing I know from my perspective, I've been talking to a lot of their people on what should I do here, what should I do there, and for every one of those I got 98 people calling me saying what should I do here, what should I do there. But I think they've been very efficient, they've been very proactive, and we've been very efficient and very proactive in different areas. So I think sharing that information is good. I don't know. I'm concerned about people buying multiple lots that don't care what happens to them for 2 generations. Coming from, usually from other countries, that will just wait it out and then come in for a 90-story office building where there were 4 homes. That's what I'm worried about.
Well, Steve Soboroff, a big round of applause, and thank you very much.